Hello and welcome. Hi. Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome. Welcome to Manifestation Monday. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Even evening to some of you who are tuning in. I'm just so happy that you're here. Thanks so much. And let me know if you can hear me. And then I'll tell you something funny. So if you can hear me, my darlings, let me know because the last couple of times you've not been able to hear me. So let me know and I'll wait on you. Hi there. I think you're going to tell me now. Hi. Big hugs to you. Hello, my darlings. Hi. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Hi, my darlings. We can. Okay. I'm going to tell you something funny. Are you ready for this? Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. First of all, I want to bring forward, and it was before I actually started this stream. So we have new members, and they are Viola Fields. Welcome, my darling. Welcome. And then we have Little Misfit. I don't think she is, but okay. Welcome, my darling. Thank you. Now, I want to tell you all something funny. Thank you so much for being here, first of all. Please do me a favor. If you're watching, please like and subscribe. That would be awesome. Now, I want to also tell you something really funny. And that is, we are in a Mercury retrograde or retro shade period until the, what? Until what? We are in the Mercury retro shade until April 26th. Now, I digress. The last couple of streams, you've not been able to hear me. Not been able to hear me. And we keep playing around and everything. And I'm like, wait a minute. Well, I'll tell you what. It was operator error. I didn't have my microphone plugged in. Didn't have it plugged in. So you were hearing me from my webcam. Thank God it has a microphone. So thank you. And Patty, look at Patty coming in hot with $1.99 super chat. Good morning, Zelda and chat. Perfect place to be. Patty, I couldn't agree more. And thank you so much for your generosity, my darlings. Thank you. And just to give you a little announcement before we get started, our membership is growing because of you. When we reach 100 members, and we are not that far from it, I think maybe 20 something, we're going to then really start with the membership only live. And that way, then we know we have enough coming in. So it's not going to be that long from now. So wonderful. Yeah, Amy says retro shade Zelda. That's right. There we are. We have Louise Powell in. Says, hi, Zelda. I had my teen quickly washed up so I could be here. Well, thank you and welcome, because I know you're watching from a little way away. So thanks for being here, everyone. Thank you. I want to thank our moderators, first of all. Amy, Dawn, thank you for being here. My goodness, love having you. And we're going to need you. And also our lovely Marie, who is the head manifester here, the mod, Marie, who is in the chat right now. So we say hello to her. She got married on Saturday. I knew it was going to happen, but that little stinker didn't tell me until just a little bit before she did it. But I'm so happy for her, and please wish her well. Talk about hello. Just got to be here, and that's dedication. So thank you, and thanks to the mods. And I say that we're going to need you because we are going to be streaming nightly. And that we're going to do that with my channel. So here, we're going to do it here on this channel and with my channel over on the other side of the aisle at Seeing Crime. We are going to be restreaming the Karen Reed case. Now, I have something that I want to do. And I appreciate your support. So during our restream, because I think we're going to do it at 7 p.m. Eastern time, starting whenever they start the trial. So it's either going to be Tuesday or we'll do it Wednesday. Whenever they're going to have opening statements, we're going to do it that night, starting at 7 p.m. and we'll be here until we finish. I'm thinking probably around 10, 11, probably midnight. But I'm going to tell you what else I think I'm going to do. While we are streaming, I will be using the EVP app. Pardon me, the EVP app, and I'll have it live right here. Now, I'm not going to let the sound go because we do want to hear the trial, but I'm going to have it live for us to see, because as you know, this thing is getting pretty accurate. And there we go. And Amy, you know what, Amy? That's fine. That's why we have different mods, and bravo. You just be here when you want to be here. We appreciate you so much, because Amy says she won't be here every night on the restream, but she'll be in and out. Perfect. So thank you. And also, I would like to thank Jerry Harris, who is a mod for Seeing Crime. So we've got some mods I'm going to say cross-pollinating. Isn't that funny? We have some mods cross-pollinating, and Karen says, I'll allow it. So there we go. We're going to, because you know what? Both of our channels, we want to get our subscribers up. You know why? Because the judge this morning mentioned that this trial is going to go 6 to 8 weeks and probably longer. So the more we do this, right, the more worldwide attention that we're going to get, because the idea of restreaming it in the evening, a lot of our friends are working during the daytime, or they're just getting off, or they're out of the country, and it's hard to catch up with the stream like that. And that way, there we go. Jerry says she's a cross-pollinator. Amen to that. And Karen says cross-moderating. There you go. Thank you. I need the help of all of you. So Karen says, hi, Karen from Boston. Well, we love having you here. Thanks so much. Love it. And Louise says that will be very interesting, watching the EVP at the same time. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So we'll be here. And Amy says she thinks that the trial is going to go on longer too. Now, sorry, for those of you who came in for Manifestation Monday, we're here for that. We're not going to be talking trials, but I just wanted to make that little announcement. The other little announcement that I have to make too. There we go. Little misfit, you darling. You're not such a misfit, but we love that you're here. Hey, join the club. I guess we are too. Yay, finally dragged out my laptop and joined up with a membership. Yes, and we saw that and said hello and welcome. And that is wonderful. And Karen became a member too. Thank you so much, my darling. Thank you so much. We appreciate all of you. My goodness. Another little announcement. And we can blame this on the United States Post Office. No, we can't. But I'm just saying that. I am expecting the manifestation mug, the coffee mug. It's supposed to be here today. It's probably in the mailbox right now. And I wanted to open that up while we were live and show you how absolutely awesome it is. Now, I will do that later so you can see it, because up close and personal, Those mugs are beautiful. And you know what? I don't drink coffee all the time. Sometimes I drink iced tea. Here we go. Sometimes I drink iced tea, some even water. And I just like to have a mug to hold on to, walking around like I have nothing to do, right? So I just walk around with my little mugs. This manifestation mug is going to really up my game. And you know what else up my game? I got to tell you something. This little rice jar. Now, Saturday was the pink moon, and we are still feeling the effects on the pink moon. Let me change my camera here because I feel like I'm looking this way, and y'all are right here. So, the effects of the pink moon has really supercharged the rice jars. Now, a lot of you have messaged me and said, oh my gosh, I feel left out. I don't have a rice jar. What do I do? Can I use sugar? Can I use this? Can I use that? I would say you can. I have somebody who's using instant oats. It's the idea, okay? But you want to use something that is absorbent. But rice is an attractor. Rice is an attractor. So the idea, I want you to know this. I replenished my rice jar. I don't know if any of you did in here. Raise your hand if you replenished or if you started a rice jar over the weekend, this past weekend, because I'm going to tell you what, because of generosity from, I've got private clients that I've had for 20 years that I've attracted, I will be able to order my rebounder today. Now that's my goal. Now, why do I want a rebounder? Well, because, and I want to tell all of you, my darlings, all of you, that while we are watching these long streams that will be going on, it is not good for our bodies to sit in one position more than 1 hour at a time. And I'm guilty of that because, you know, I get into this stuff, right? And I know that you do too. I watch and I'm thinking, holy mackerel. I look at the clock and I think, oh, wow, it's 11. I look at the clock again and I think, oh my gosh, it's 3 p.m. And then I look at the clock again and then I think, oh my gosh, it's 6 p.m. I haven't even have not thought of dinner. So then it turns into a mad scramble. The idea of me getting a rebounder, and I'm so excited because I invite all of you to do something while we are watching long streams, whether you're walking in place, whether you're doing something, keep that flowing, keep everything going. For me, I do not have an ideal place to walk or work out or anything close to me. So that sounds like fun. And that's what I want to do. There you go. Okay, Amy, Zelda. Oh no, I didn't think to charge or change my right. First of all, you don't have to change it. Okay, you do not have to change out your rice jar. You just have to charge it. How do you charge it? Well, you put a note in there. I want to up my game on getting a house. I want a new apartment. I want a new car. Thanks for giving me the new car. Thanks for the extra funds. Thank you for the extra money. And quite frankly, I had a particular price point on my rebounder and I got more than that. So I want you to always expect more. Expect more. Now, I put extra money in here. If you don't have the extra more money, it's okay. All you have to do is put a penny, a nickel. You know what? Write yourself out a check. Of course, void it so nobody gets it. But write yourself out a check and put it in your rice jar. Do that. Write in there. This is my payment for, I'm paying myself for, and you'll find out. And I'm going to tell you, the testimonials that I get are amazing. Totally amazing. So there we go. D1111, I have my walking pad and rebounder ready for trout. Good, good. I love it. I love it. Patty McDonald shaking my jar saying, I'm good with that. I'm happy with that. I'm good with that. It's all good. It's all good. So we are still under this pink moon. I'm just going to say it this way. The rays of the pink moon are shining down on us still, right? So at this point, my darlings, do your rice jar. You want to replenish this or reset your intentions. I'm going to say every full moon. Now you do it. You can do it on a new moon too, because I'll tell you what, new moons attract money. When I was in the corporate world, way back when, I could track closings. I could track things happening by the new moon schedule, because new moons attract new business. They attract new. It's all good. I love it. And I want you to love it too, because this is exactly, well, my darling, I used to do that quite often, especially way back in the day. Now it's not a trampoline. It's a little mini one, okay? So I'm not going to be doing these big herky Russian jumps and cheerleading stuff. Those days are gone. But oh yeah, I can certainly do it. And I'm a very athletic girl, so I love doing that sort of thing. So absolutely. So there we go. So yes, get your jars ready for the new moon. Now I'm going to also tell you this. Marie here, we have another Marie in the chat, so I have to really make sure that we know who we're talking. Marie, the mod here, and I have been talking today about having manifestation kits. We're going to put some things together for all of you, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to do this sort of thing, to make sure that you have what it is that you have, and so forth. So just so you know, okay? All right, so Lori has a question. Hi, Lori Olson. Can you put multiple intentions in one jar? And can you have more than one rice jar? The answer is yes and yes. You want to have your rice jar somewhere where you can see it on the daily. You don't want to stick it behind anything or on a counter in your kitchen where something gets put in front of it. I have my jar. I have a credenza across from me that's got shelves. And, it's like a, I don't know, bookshelf, TV credenza type of thingy. I have my rice jar that sits right on the top shelf. So when I am looking, I see it immediately. Now, why wouldn't I keep my rice jar on my desk? Because sometimes familiarity helps you get things lost, right? So now you just kind of overlook it. I don't want to overlook it. Because if you saw my desk, I know everything where everything is. But, I have everything from nail glue to cameras to controllers. And here, I'll show you another little thing that I have here. And every now and then I use this as a prop. You're going to love this. It says fortune teller. Isn't that cute? It's like a little book. It's like ceramic, but I have that sitting here. I use it as a prop. And so I've got a lot of things. I do not want to get lost in the shuffle because I want it to be a priority. So I put it so where when I glance up, I'm like, oh yeah, that's where it is. And my subconscious automatically says, oh, okay, there it is, Zelda. We're working on it for you. We're working on it for you. There you go. Little misfit, you know what's up. I trim my hair every full moon. You know it. That helps with hair growth. It helps with making your hair full. Very good. Loving that. Jerry says, I would drink extra caffeine when I worked in the ER when it was a full moon. Right? Right? You got to prepare for these things. Look who made it in. Standing Stones, big hugs, Zelda of Manifestation Monday fame. I don't know about fame, but I'm here. There we go. There we go. That song Fame just ran through my mind. Thank you for that. I'll be singing that all day. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to welcome each and every one of you for being here. It is my honor and my pleasure to bring all these things to you that work for me. And the one thing that I want to talk to you about today is a very important subject that I think, because a lot of you now are getting to the point where you're starting to manifest bigger things and manifest things coming to you, as in money, maybe property, objects, cars. I know you're going to be there we go. You're just going to be you're manifesting a lot of things that are important to you. But what's going to start happening, my darlings, is you're going to start manifesting a lot of questions from other people too. And that's what happens, because other people's, as in plural, other people will see and know that something's going on with you. And they're going to ask you, now, what are you going to say? Well, I'm manifesting. I watch Manifestation Monday. I'm learning all these things. I'm manifesting. And what does that do? It opens the door, just a little crack, where somebody goes home at night, or they hang up the phone after talking with you, and then their mind starts working. What is this horse manure? What is this? What is this craziness? What is this? What is this? So then the next time they see you, what they do is they say, I've been thinking about that thing. Isn't that witchcraft? No, far from it. Or doesn't that go against the grain of things? No, far from it. Well, are you doing something illegal? No, far from it. So there you go. Thanks, Amy. You go right ahead, my darling. Thanks for being here. You can catch up later. Appreciate you so much. Thank you. So I want you to know, be prepared. Because I'm going to tell you what, when I really started manifesting things, and I'm not kidding, I got good at it, and I still am very good at it. And it's because I know that's just what I want, and it happens, and there we go. But what started happening was, and especially family members would come to me and they would say, something's wrong. It doesn't seem like you work at all. Every time you show up at a family function, you bring something. How do you do this? You're moving into these big, beautiful houses. You're driving these big, beautiful cars. You're doing all of this. And how do you do it? In fact, I'm going to tell you this. I even had a family member that was close to me threaten to call the feds one time because they thought I was doing something that wasn't right. And when you sit down and you try to write it out and explain it to them, then it's, why would people give you, something is, hello. I attracted some, I felt like Mr. Miyagi there for a second. I thought I was going to catch him. So then they would say, why would people give you money? I don't understand that. What are you doing for it? What are you doing? So now, you have to be very careful, because I'll tell you, that caused problems for me and my son. Especially one problem was the day because my brother-in-law used to play drums for a very famous country music singer. And so it was very hard for him. He was getting carpal tunnel. It was very hard for him to push a lawnmower. So I went and bought a riding lawnmower and sent it to their house. And you would have thought that I sent the devil incarnate. What did you do? How dare to, what do you want in, and I want you to know this, okay? When people don't understand something, the first thing they think is that it's wrong. That's what you have to do. So what is all this point? What is all this point? So the point of it is when you are manifesting and these things are coming into reality, make sure you don't say a word. Privacy is power. Now let's take this off to another part of this. We're going to go down another road. So you're very close with a good friend. There you confide in each other. You start telling your friend things that have happened to you in the past. You start telling your friend all of this, and you gain the trust, and then one day you kind of figure out that you're the only one sharing and your friend is not. Then one day you have a problem, and that so-called friend goes and talks. And it seems like it's going all over the place. And what happens? You're devastated. Been there, done that. You're devastated. So what do? Privacy is power. What you need to remember when you're going through this, because you're not doing anything wrong. In fact, let me tell you, a lot of what I'm teaching you is biblical. You've heard of the law of gravity, right? The law of gravity. There's the law of reciprocity. That is taught in the Bible. What is the law of reciprocity? Well, when you give freely from your heart without any strings attached, that the higher power, you say God, whatever, higher power, God, will return that to you tenfold. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's something else that you may need. But the law of reciprocity is when you give, you get back. Now, I know a lot of people try to work on that crazy idea that thinks, oh, okay, well, I'm going to give away everything that I have so then I can get more. And it doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. So what you've got to do, my darlings, is you've got to think about these things and where all this has been created and written. First of all, in Proverbs, be thankful every day. And everything we do is thanks. And everything we have, everything that happens to us, we should be thankful. My darlings, I'm going to tell you this. Everything that happens, even the bad stuff. Oh my gosh, I got this bill and I can't pay it, but I'm so thankful. Why are you thankful? Well, because first of all, you know you're going to be in a position where you can take care of it. How many times, I want you to think about this, how many times in the past has something happened and you think, oh God, this is the worst thing in my whole life. I am never going to live through this. I am not going to be able to handle this. And the next thing you know, well, look, here you are. You came through it just like a champ. That's what happens. And the moment, because the whole idea is the psychology of it. If you complain, you remain in the position that you're in. So when I say privacy and silence is power, I'm not kidding. So that's the deal, my darlings, because I'm going to tell you this. There are many times I have clients, and my private clients are stinkers. They watch me, they know this, and they love me. But I got to tell you, they are stinkers because I will tell them, look, you do not want to go and be telling your friends all this stuff, but I have to. Why? Well, because they ask me. Well, tell them you don't feel like you want to talk about it right now. But if I do that, then it's going to seem like they're mad. I'm mad at them and it'll make it worse. No, this is your private business. Can they help you get through it? Well, no. They don't have any money. They can't do anything. They don't know anybody that can influence anybody else. Okay, then you have to get through this for yourself, but I can't. Look, silence is power. That's how in negotiations, you become silent. I learned this a long time ago in the corporate world because the next person who says something will be the one who gives up something. When you are silent, it makes people wonder, if ever you are around me, you will watch. There are times that I can walk into a room or a restaurant and I won't say a word. I'll walk through and you'll watch the whole restaurant or the whole room watching me. Why? Because I'm not one of these people, even when my kids were little, that were going through the restaurant, making all these overtures and all this other. You stay silent and it commands respect. So what do these private clients do? Zelda, you've got to help me. Okay, stay silent. But I can't. And the moment that they get off the phone with me, are you gonna stay silent? Are you gonna talk? Yes, I promise. I will try. Trying is not good enough. You got to do. Why? Because trying is a trial. Trying is temporary, and you know it. Trying means you ain't putting no effort behind it. Trying means that you're just going to kick the tires and take it for a test drive because you like kind of coming back to where you are right now. Oh, no, I promise, Zelda, I'm not going to. Okay, we'll see. They get off the phone. Oh my gosh, I was just talking to Zelda. And do you know what she told me? She told me not to say anything to you. Yeah, that's right. Zelda. Yeah, I've been talking to her for years. Has she been right? Oh, yeah, she's been right. I would say 98% of the time. Yeah. Oh, well, you think I should do that? Okay. Well, then they call me and then they want to tell me off. You know what? I told my friend that I'm not supposed to tell them anything because you said so. So then they told me to call you up and tell you off. Do you see how that goes? Do you see how that all is? I love this. Trisha, silence is golden, but there's a second part of that. And do you know what that is? Duct tape is silver. You know what that means? That means if you can't be, now this is metaphorically speaking, and I'm not telling anybody to do this, just know, but it's a saying, and silence is golden, but duct tape is silver. It means if you can't be quiet, then put tape across your mouth so you don't say anything. Now that's funny. I think it's funny. So there you go. So, but the whole thing about this manifestation is the more you want to manifest, the more you have to be silent. And it's not only be silent about this Manifestation Monday and what we're doing here, because this is no cult, this is no leadership, this is no nothing. We are using the laws of the universe. It is the laws of attraction, the laws of vibration, the laws of frequency, the laws of reciprocity. I can go on and on. There's like 28 of them. And if you don't believe that you're not practicing the law of attraction, well, let me tell you, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's from Henry Ford. Nikola Tesla was a huge manifestor. Huge. Now, what happens when you need to work something out? Staying silent is your best friend. Staying silent means that you're overcoming the noise. Staying silent means that sometimes you just have to pull in, close the door, turn the phone off, turn the TV off, lay down for a minute, bury your head in the pillow and say, okay, I'm going to shut this down for a minute so I can think. And when you do that, there will be a plan that will be given to you that will work out what it is that you need to work out, my darlings. That's what happened. I learned to practice that for a very long time. But I'm also going to tell you what else that I learned to practice, and you guys are going to love this. You're going to love this. And I've talked to you a little bit about before. And it's about having your manifestation board members. Now, I learned this from Louise Hayes, back in Louise Hayes, back, in the 1980s, even before that, when all of this started really becoming popular. And people were like, oh my gosh, I remember the day I couldn't walk into the new age section at the bookstore because I would be looked at and mothers and children would run from me. There we go. So, Karen, goodbye, my darling. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the membership. We love you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day, my darling. Thank you. Thank you. So, you couldn't even go in there because this was a certain mindset. You see what I mean? People will tell you particular mindsets that they want you to believe. And if you don't believe what they believe, then bad news, right? So I remember those days. Well, I would sneak into the usually Books A Million or Barnes and Noble, try to get a cup of coffee, and would sit kind of in a corner and read a few things, and knowing that I wanted to buy a particular book. And I found this one Louise Hayes book. And I want you to know. Thank you, Karen. I want you to know that I was blessed enough to hear one of her lectures. And this is what she described, and I've been doing this ever since. And I'm going to share it with you because part of this goes with the silence is golden, silence is power, privacy is power. Because you know what? When you're silent, it makes other people wonder. And you know, if somebody comes at you and they want to run their cake hole, if you stay silent and you start staying silent, what will happen is they'll run their cake hole more because they feel like they haven't done their job and they get high on calling people out. And you just sit back and you do your own thing. And I learned a long time ago. So this is the method. You meditate. How do you meditate? Well, you close your eyes and you try to clear all your thoughts out of the day. It's hard to do, but you can do that. So what you do, my darling, is this. You imagine yourself walking into a room. Now, this is what I did. And this was in the 1980s. And I just started working for psychic friends, psychic line back then, lived in a big historic house in Virginia. My husband at that time was out to sea. He was a lieutenant commander in the Navy. I didn't have any family around. And so I worked on the psychic line and I wanted to manifest more clients, manifest more things, and go from there. So, what you do is you quiet your mind and you imagine, because I'm going to tell you something, the law of attraction and manifestation is making sure that you control your imagination. Uh-oh. Hello. That means you don't let your thoughts go crazy and rampant. Oh my God. If this person does this, then I'll have to do this. And if they do, then if I have to do this, then they don't have to go. And the next thing you know, you've talked yourself into believing the scenario that you've just tried to talk yourself out of. That you have to control that part, my darlings. It's hard to do. So there you go. So what you do is you quiet your mind, you close your eyes. You imagine yourself going into this other room. Now, for me, I imagined myself going into this because I would always like the espionage parts of things. So I imagined myself going into this bunker underneath my house where I had lots of movie, equipment and recording equipment. And I had a big table and I sat all of the people around my big table that I wanted to. And yes, I used my imagination. And no, there was anybody that showed up. I had Jesus on my board. I had, let's see, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and let's see, who else? Chuck Norris was on my board. Jesus, Chuck Norris, Arnold Schwarzenegger. There were quite a bit of people that were on my board, my own board of directors. How do you like that? Now, I know you got to use your imagination in the correct way, but you've got to pick each person that plays a role. I had Jesus there because he keeps me on the straight and narrow. That's why I wear a ring that says Jesus on my left hand. I'm married to that principle. So you pick the people that can help you the most. Not only do you imagine going into your space, I would go into my bunker. I knew exactly the outfit that I wore. And to this day, I still, when I go into my bunker, I go into my bunker and I've replaced some of the people, but I wear the same outfit because it connects me immediately. And I look spiffy, believe me. Polished conservative. See, that's always me. Polished conservative, nothing wild. These glasses, that's like, oh my gosh, stand down, Zelda. You're getting out of right. Hello. So what you do then is you sit with your board of directors and you decide you work things out. You decide what you're going to do. But then what you do, my darlings, is you sit in front of this big movie screen and you roll your life and you look at it from the outside in. And you look at it from the perspective of other people. And then you can say, you know what? I think I need to change this. If this is how I look to other people, then this is what I need to do. If this is how something is happening, then this is what needs to happen. And if I need to work out this particular problem, then I'll do that. And I'm going to tell you, I started working out things because, quite frankly, my life, even though it seemed together, was not together. And pardon me, I was with a man who did not believe in any of this, and his family didn't believe. We were in the same community. We grew up. Our sisters were best friends in high school and all over, and blah, blah, blah. And he did not believe. He'd listen, he'd participate when I would go places, but it caused problems. And that was a big problem. So that there are things that you have to work out. And when you do, that's going to start working out for you. And when I went into my bunker, and I still go in there, by the way, I still use that as a meditation form. I keep silent. I don't talk about things. I don't talk about my private life that much to many people. Just a few that I just totally trust because I've been so burnt in the past. I know it looks like my shoulders are doing this, but it's because my green screen and my chair. So it looks like I'm sitting like this. So sorry. So I just want you to know that all of this, the more silent you become, the more powerful in positive ways you will become in manifestation. In every walk of life, in everything you do, it doesn't matter what. Silence is golden. And remember, if you get out of hand, the duct tape is silver. Not really. I'm just teasing you. So we got a question here, Amy. Zelda, what was the first thing that happened when you knew that you were psychic? I was 4 years old. I don't know if I want to should I tell that story here? It's a paranormal story. I should maybe tell it on my other channel, but I was 4 years old when it first started connecting with me. Pardon me. I think I was 3 or 4. So I was very young. And something very jolting happened with me. And then I started experiencing other things. And then my grandmother knew that there were some things that were happening with me and my mom too. My dad, my grandfather on my dad's side was a Methodist minister. So, no, he poo-pooed it. Oh, bunch of crazy people. Should I tell this? Okay, I'm getting yes. Okay, here we go. Time out from the Manifestation Monday into the paranormal unknown with Zelda. Welcome. So here we are, my darlings. Dad, mom, sister moved into a little house. I saw a picture of it, I don't know, a few years ago. And it is so little that I'm thinking, holy mackerel, how did we even survive in that house? But it was 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, early 1960s. My mother just decorated it so beautiful, and it was wonderful. My grandparents would travel, and they would go out west. And they would go out there hunting. I'm going to tell you what, my grandmother, I mean, she had I don't know if about that record or not. The largest antelope in Wyoming used to have the pictures. I don't have any of those anymore. I wish I did. But anyway, so they would go out west, but every time they would bring something back, they would bring little cowboy outfits and just really cute little things. Well, this one year, Grandma and Grandpa came back and they had these beautiful bride dolls. And I mean, they were gorgeous. This doll, for me, I mean, this doll was, she had to be 14, 16 inches. I mean, and my sister's doll was like, I think a good 18 inches. Just one of those beautiful dolls that you really didn't play with. It's one of those things. It was, You weren't supposed to play with this doll. You were just supposed to put it in the corner, and then it was your play pretty that you would just look at. And then by the time you got old enough you could play with it, you didn't want to play with it anymore. You know, that type of thing. Well, they brought these. So my dad built these shelves for my sister and I. My sister is 18 months older than I am. 20 months older than me, almost 2 years. So he built these shelves that were on the wall. We shared a room. We had twin beds and two single beds, and then we had these shelves on the wall on the foot of our bed. So we could lay in bed, we could look at our things, and my mom would put special things up there, like little cups that, were from, I don't know, just prettier cups that we would never drink out of, but were just supposed to be keepsakes. So she put the dolls up there, but they wouldn't fit. They were this like an actual book, like a cabinet. And so they wouldn't fit inside. So my mom she put my sister's doll on my sister's shelf, my doll on my shelf. So I looked at this doll nightly when she came in, and she was beautiful. She had her little hair. It was that 1950-ish, 60s roll set curlers. But she didn't have the curlers in, obviously, but it was a rolled set. She had little pearl earrings. She had a little pearl bracelet. She had this veil on and this beautiful white dress and these little pearls on her heels. And I mean, she was just decked out. She had this pretty little wedding ring on. So, she was there for a wedding. So every night I would look at this doll. And now we were in this urban area. Neighbors weren't really close by. There was no traffic close by. My mom would leave a hall light on in case one of us got up in the middle of the night. And see, I knew no fear. I did not know fear at that age. I didn't know what fear was. We were raised in a home that, there were no jump scares and all this other crazy stuff that people do. There were I just knew no fear. So I'm laying there one night, and I mean, this went on and on. I didn't have a concept of time from back then, but this went on for a while. Me looking at this doll every night and saying, "You are so beautiful. I hope I look like you someday when I get married. I think you're gorgeous. I hope that, just all these things. I love you. I love you." And one night, and I swear on everything that's heavenly, one night, that doll is standing there, very stoic, turns and looks at me and winks. The doll turned and winked at me. Now, I want you to know, at that moment, I felt fear. And there was this blood-curdling scream that I never knew that I could ever muster come out of me. It shook the whole house. My sister bolts out of bed, comes over, shakes me. Sissy, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's going on? What's wrong? My mother, I'm going to tell you what, my mother was like, my mother and my grandmother, don't touch us girls, hello. And my grandfather was like, "Oh, if you want to be touching my granddaughters, just make sure you'll be looking down the barrel of and whatever." So my mom comes in the room. I was frozen in fear. She said that I was like 50 ton. She couldn't get me up. It was like dead weight. I became a cement block at that point. She finally got me up. I grabbed her around her neck. I could not stop screaming. we went out into the living room. They had my sister come out there. My dad, he went in the room, checked to see, any boogeyman, anybody in there, blah, blah, blah. And of course, my mom calls my grandparents, her parents. That's my famous grandmother, the card reading, and my grandfather, who was they call him a water witch. It's not that. He was a dowser. He found water wells and so forth. So they grew up in this type of thing. And so they seriously, my mother called. She was frantic. And this had to be like 2 o'clock in the morning, something. And they didn't live that far from us. And you can bet that they got in their car and they were there in a flash. And I finally calmed down enough that, my mother said that my hair was matted to my head. I was just pure it was crazy, and I felt crazy. Well, the first thing that my dad wanted to do, he said, "Well, I think we need to call the doctor. And I think we need to send her away." Well, those were fighting words with my mother and fighting words with my grandfather and my grandmother. And so he finally understood that he needed to keep that quiet because I wasn't going anywhere. And so finally, I got this story out. Well, the first thing my grandmother says, Pete, she used to call my grandpa Pete. That's not his real name, but who knows where that came from. Pete, you need to go in that room. And she would talk like this. Pete, you need to go in that room and you need to get that doll out of that room and you need to get her sisters. Well, my sister's like, no, you're not taking my doll. So that caused another reeling. So they took my doll only. I had to watch my grandpa. I watched them out of the front window of the living room. They had the trash can out by the road because the trash man was going to come that morning. My dad had to go to work at 5 or 6 a.m. So I had to watch this ritual. Of them wrapping up this doll and putting her in the trash bin. So I had to watch it. They wrapped her up. They didn't just, they had to wrap her up, but they put her in the trash bin and they put the lid on there. And those aluminum trash, I guess you call them barrels or cans that has the lid. And sometimes, if they get bent out, they get hard to get stuck like that. So they ended up saying, it was done, whatever. And my grandparents said, why don't you let her and her sister come over to our house for a little while, let things calm down. So we were excited. We were going to go stay with Grandma and Grandpa. We were there for like 9 or 10 days. We always had a good time with Grandma and Grandpa, just so I could forget. And so we went over there, and of course, that was the day where you didn't have car seats. You could just sit in the front seat, whatever. And I remember me sitting on my grandmother's lap, hanging on to her for the dear life. And my grandpa was totally silent. So that was pretty much it. I knew that the doll had been disposed of until years later at a family gathering. Now, I was an adult and married and had my daughter. We were at a family gathering, and that story came up. And my dad was like, whatever, nutty, blah, blah, blah. And my grandma said, well, it wasn't nutty about what happened to that doll. What happened to that doll? What happened to that doll, Grandma? Well, I didn't know that after we left, My dad ended up getting ready for work, went outside. Now, this was a few hours later, went outside, lifted the lid off the trash can, and the doll was gone. There was no one around. The trash men hadn't left yet. No one would have seen that doll in the trash. No one would have even known it was a doll because it was all wrapped up. I mean, they wrapped her in like garbage bags and all that other stuff and kind of like pushed her down. The doll was gone. No one would have ever known. Nobody touched the trash. As we left that morning with my grandparents, we had to, we drove out of the driveway and we passed that. And I had to like make sure that I knew that, hello, there was the trash can. The doll was in it when I got home. Now, it's creepy as can be, and it could never be explained in my family. So, but all I knew is that when we went back home, my sister tortured me with her doll. And she would get in trouble with it, but she wouldn't get into the trouble that I wanted her to. But she would torture me to the point where I couldn't sleep at night. They had to move me into another room, and my parents tried to control that, but you know how that goes. There are some pictures that are floating around because from that moment on, get me a truck, get me a horse, don't get me no dolls. And even now, like I want to go to Zach Bagans Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. They have a doll room. Mm-mm. The last time that I went into a haunted house where they had dolls, you could hear on the camera where two of them were calling my name. Zelda, Zelda, no thank you. Goodbye. No dolls for me. I don't do dolls. And so in this picture, especially, and I remember it, I'm holding, because my grandpa got me a fire truck. That's good enough for me. Thanks, Grandpa. I'll take the fire truck. My sister is holding her bride doll, and I have this horrible, frightened look standing beside and looking at this doll. My sister's standing there, and I'm standing there with this frightened look of this doll because I then became one of those scared kids. I could not go into a dark room. I couldn't sleep without a light on. No kidding. No kidding. When my daughter was little, my mother got her, you remember the movie, The Gremlins? My mother got her a gremlin doll. Now, I told her, you just better be careful about getting some of those dolls. And I didn't like those gremlin dolls. And so, and it's and wax museums, very hard for me to go into a wax museum because somebody's always, you hear it. You can hear an audible, somebody will call my name. If you're ever with me and we go into a wax museum, you will hear my name being called. I don't know what it is, but that's just the way it is. So if anybody wonders if this EVP stuff comes through, yes, it comes through. Does people think that I'm crazy? Yes, they do. But it's okay because I know the truth. From that moment, I started seeing people that had passed appear. So I was little. We would go into the hardware store where my aunt worked. And I'll tell you about the gremlin doll in a minute. I would go into the hardware store where my aunt worked. I was little. It was right after this happened. There was a woman who came around in the hardware store. I'll never forget it. The name of the hardware was Home Hardware. Hello. Can you get any more original than that? So we went in there to see my aunt about something. It was my dad's sister. And my mother's looking around. And my mother and grandmother always had, the grip on my sister and I, because back then, even children would, get lost. I'm going to say it that way. So we were in this hardware store, and this woman who was dressed in this dark outfit, and it was all black, this all black suit. It was very and she smelled, I hate to say this, but I'll never forget the smell. It's like musty, not like mothballs, but like the suit had been in the back of the closet for 100 years and she decided to put it on that day. That's what it smelled like. And she was very pale, very pasty white. And my mother was talking to my aunt. Dad was talking to his sister. My sister was there. And I just kind of moseyed off and was looking around. And finally, this woman comes around the corner and she's looking at me and she said, "Oh, I know you, little Zelda." I'm like, "You do?" Now, think about this. I'm like 4 or 5 years old. And she's like, "You do?" I'm like, "You do?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I know you. I knew your grandmother that had your name." "You do?" "Well, grandma passed away." "Well, yeah, I know." But, and then she goes on about how she knows of me. She knew my dad and she whatever. And she got down really close in my face and she said, "Someday I'll see you again." Well, what does that happen? Fear. And the scream happens again. That B movie bloody scream again. So my mother comes running and I tell her what's going on. And they locked down the store. My dad, they were going aisle to aisle trying to find this woman. And it was a very small store, but they locked the doors trying to find this woman because that's kind of a no-no to walk up to a little kid. And you know what I mean? It scared me. It was creepy as can be. Even now, I have goosebumps now thinking about it. We get up to the front. My aunt is standing there by the cash register. She's saying to me, "Little Zell," because they would always call me Little Zell or Zell. Little Zell, or my grandfather would call me Zelkel because he did not like the fact that I was named Zelda. He wanted to name me something else, and it was Zelkel. So he, they asked me what she looked like, and I described her. And I was describing her, had this dark suit on, had lace around the suit, had lacy buttons, had her hair in a certain way, and had this little kind of sort of hat on with a veil. And she looked 1940s and all this other stuff. My aunt's face was dropping. I could see that she was going white, and I mean pale white, from me describing. And she kept looking over at my dad and I kept thinking, what, because when you're that age, you're thinking whatever. And my mom couldn't really figure out what was going on. And then my aunt turns to my dad and she said, "Oh my God, she just described Aunt Gertie." And my dad stood back like this. And he said, "You are right." And my aunt said, "There's absolutely no way that little Zell would know who she is or what she would look like." And Dad said, "No, that's very true." Aunt Gertie passed away 23 years earlier. So she showed up in the home hardware store to talk to little Zell and to say hello, and that someday she would see me again. And that's when we knew. Now, my grandmother, who was the card reader, and I mean, she wasn't woo woo or anything. You'd walk in her, you wouldn't even know, right? You wouldn't know. But my grandmother had many talks with my mom about this and what should be done. Now, my mom didn't want to face it. She did, but she didn't want to face it. My sister had some ability, but not anything like whatever. And so my dad, at that point, when I said my dad wanted to send me away, it was one of those to a hospital somewhere because he thought I was cracking up or going crazy or something. Because, he didn't grow up with anything like that. He grew up in the church. They'd always thought that there was something borderline evil with anything like this at all. So I remember going to our pastor and having to talk to our pastor. And I remember our pastor telling our mom, this happens to some kids and it's unexplainable. Maybe she'll grow out of it, maybe she won't. But this is something that you're just going to have to live with. My dad did not like that and wanted to change churches. And so it started to be a battle between my parents. My grandmother and grandfather, funny enough, lived in a place where there had been an accident happened where there was a woman who was unalived. And this was in a nice part of town. It was in this rural area, not in a rural area, it was in suburban area. And so when we would go over there to stay, we would hear it. And I have that story in the playlist of Dark Tales with Zelda. I have some of these stories if you'd like to hear them. They're a little bit more in depth, and you can go on my playlist and listen. I think they might even be here on this channel if you want to look for Dark Tales with Zelda. And in their house, you could hear this woman, and she would be walking through the basement in high heels, and you could hear that. And so those things then started becoming somewhat normal to me. And then when we went to school, my best friend in school, whose name was Kimberly, her birthday was the day after mine. We were in kindergarten and we were by I don't know, the swings or something like that. We were near the whatever it was. And all of a sudden, it got very windy around her. We were standing there talking, playing, doing whatever, and it just got really windy. And these leaves started swirling around my friend, around her feet. And she's looking at me, and I said, "Don't worry, that's your dad." Now, I didn't know that my mom went to school with her dad, her high school with her dad. He was this real cutie. His first name was Jim. And after my friend was born, Jim got married to my friend's mother. They had a couple of kids. After my friend and her little sister were born, he went out on a motorcycle, had an accident, and was immediately unalived. Well, when I said that to her, and I'm in kindergarten because, it was just this thing that came over me. I said, "Oh, that's your dad. I didn't know that." That wasn't something that was discussed in our household. So I didn't know that. Oh my, we were not friends from that moment because she freaked out and went to the office and they called my mother in because this was a big deal. You didn't do this. It was a country area. Country school, country, all farmland, lived on a farm, that whole thing. We went to this school and my mom comes in and they're telling her, it's like, you're discussing his accident with, and my mom's like, no, she doesn't even know about that. And of course, the principal tells that, she pretended that she was going to give me in trouble. On the way home, my mother, and I'll never forget it, my mother said, we're going to stop by grandma and grandpa's. So and your sister's going to come home on the bus. Okay. So we went to grandma and grandpa's, and my grandmother and my mom are sitting there, and they had to talk with me. And they basically said, just because you see something like this when you're around other people that don't understand, you can't say anything because it's going to cause trouble for you and for the rest of the family. And we don't understand really what's happening to you either. We understand that that's what you're seeing and what you're doing. But you know what? You are not going to be able to do this anymore. And that was it. That was it. And from that moment, I knew, and I was told that I couldn't even really discuss it with my dad because he was pushing to, take me away because he he couldn't handle it. He didn't want to handle it. Later on then, and he was fine. And then my parents got divorced when I was 16. But it was it was a very odd time that I had to learn how to navigate things, and that I could look at people and I would see other people around, or I would hear somebody say something that wasn't really there, or I would make a mistake and just spout out something like I did about my girlfriend's dad. That's the time. So I'm going to say between the years of 4 and 7 or 8, that was a hard thing. That was a hard thing. Amy says, did it shut down my gift? No. No, I just learned that I had to keep silent, that I couldn't tell anyone, that if I saw something or if I experienced something, I could tell my mom and my grandma, but they didn't even want they didn't even want me to tell my sister because she would just torture me with it. And she had some friends in school, pardon me, she had some friends in school that she would tell, and they would bully me about it, so I just couldn't be open about it. So even now I don't say too much. Of course, mom and grandma are gone, and but I mean, my son knows all the stories, my daughter knows all the stories. They've been around me when I've been really in tune, to the point where I can remember when my daughter was still home and my son was little, I would look at her and I say, hey, you need to answer the phone. Grandma's calling. And she'd look at me and she'd say, the phone isn't ringing. I said, it's about to. And it would ring and it would be grandma. Or, it would be things like that would happen. Now, do I do that a lot right now? No, because I learned silence. Silence is power. I learned to keep it still. But I also learned that there's a time and place for everything. That if I see something that could be a problem for others, then I need to say something. But I cannot go down the street and look at a woman who is pushing a baby buggy with her husband beside her and say, ma'am, he just had an affair with your babysitter. That I learned that I could just not be honest with it. So there we go. So yeah, there little misfit has a comment. It's freaky when you're young, especially if nobody in your family knows or understands. I couldn't tell anyone anything about them freaking out and I got in trouble. Yep. Amy wants to know, or should I say, did you feel that you couldn't be yourself? No, I was myself. I just learned that it was sorry, I've got allergies really bad. I just learned that it was just something that I had to deal with. It was just a part of me. So I learned not to be scared anymore. Like when I have these portals that are open, and especially this energy comes through, and I see things in here, and there's orbs in here, and the cats are, all this other stuff. And my son will come out of his room and say, Mom, I think you need to cleanse my room because there's something here. Or I walk by the kitchen and I see a black form standing by the refrigerator and I mistake it for, you know, that, that literally has become my normal. And quite frankly, it has been extremely hard to have a relationship. And to be quite frank, I don't care. I'm very happy in life right now, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. I'm it's very hard to explain, especially when you first meet somebody, it's like, "Hi, my name is Zelda, and what do you do, Zelda?" "Well, I have a psychic channel. I'm a YouTuber. I do this. I work on a psychic line." And before you're done, then they become curious. Do you know things that people do? What was I doing? And then it was, what was I doing before I came here? So it's either that they don't understand or you turn into a carnival act. So I'm extremely quiet. Amy, does my daughter have the gift like your son? Not quite. I mean, it's different with all of us. It's different. So it's different. So it just depends. They're not interested in developing. They're not interested in anything like that. I went on to get my paranormal degree in paranormal psychology, as in, sometimes when you hear people on witness stands that say, there was a spirit that told me to unalive this person, or there's a fine line between paranormal and psychopath in that regard. So I delved in and began to study. I studied at the Edgar Cayce Foundation. I studied all over the world. I got my doctorate in metaphysical sciences and in paranormal sciences with a understudy, I guess, of theology. So I wanted to be educated. I read everything that I possibly could. I did everything that I possibly could and here I am, my darlings, here I am. So, and people will say, well, maybe you need to meet another psychic. No, no, thank you. Tried that, didn't work out. So, no, there we go. So, Noli said, I have a deep struggle with the desire to show my work, similarly kept under wraps for years. Yeah, because sometimes you just you don't want the struggle. Because sometimes literally it can be more hurtful for them than it is for us, me. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. D1111 says, oh man, that can feel so isolating. You know what? I'm going to tell you what. I don't feel isolated at all. I don't have those feelings of the desperate desire to have relationships. I don't I've been there, done that. And so that's just something that's not in my world right now. I'm not saying it never will be, but it's going to have to be a really perfect person. I'm not trying to manifest it. That's the thing. when I do try to manifest, holy moly, they come out of the woodwork. And I mean, my boyfriend from high school, how many years ago, came rolling out of the woodwork, wondering, contacting me on social media. Gee, I can't get you out of my mind. How's things going? I'm divorced now. What are you doing? Now, he knew of this and he's okay with it, but no, thank you. Not looking for that at all. Louise says, "Do you ever get frightened?" Um, I guess it depends. That's a good question, Louise. It depends on what my definition of frightened is. This has become such a normal thing, and hanging out with my grandmother and experiencing, I told you about, the body the one time that, in the house, and there's just it's it's one of those things that it's so funny because sitting here, it's Manifestation Monday, and I've talked about how manifesting and the paranormal kind of meet in the middle because there's that frequency and vibration. And I sometimes wonder, is that why it is a little easier for me to manifest things? Is because I'm really so open to what feels like it is the not so normal? It could be, because quite frankly, when you think about this, it's like, but I remember when I first started reading cards, and give me a second here, my darlings. Okay. When I first started reading cards, I was about 12, 13. My grandmother had her little gypsy witch playing cards. Where's my deck? It's over there. I can't get it right now. But you've all seen my gypsy witch playing cards. Those are grandma's. And she would lay these cards out. Well, back then, that was the gig back then, believe me, because back then I didn't even know that tarot was a thing. I didn't even know it. My sister and I would go to grandma and grandpa's and we would play a game that is a Midwestern game that is German, is called euchre. And we would play euchre, where you have to pick out certain suits and you have, these different cards that are trumps and, all this other stuff. And we would play this, but there would be combinations of cards together, and it would almost startle me to the point where I would say, "Grandma, what's with these cards? Why don't they have pictures on them? Because this should mean this and this and this." So then I started sitting down with her, and she started showing me the Gypsy Witch playing cards. Now I'm going to tell you something. That woman was, I wish she would hear. She would be the one, would be here sitting telling about psychic stories, not me. She was the one. She was the one who went out on these paranormal type things, and she was the one who would go and read cards for everybody and tell people what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. And oh my goodness, it was really, really something. And so, that's the whole thing. So D1111 says it is also so hard to have relationships when you have a gift because people will always bug you. Boundaries are necessary. They bug me when they're my friends. If you want to be on, if I can be honest, it's that, Zelda, I don't want to ask you, but can I ask you? Well, sure, but then it becomes so, though it becomes this moment where you have to really start drawing the line. Now, I can't tell you how many relationships that I've been in where a person, my mate, my boyfriend, husband, whatever, would say, "Oh yeah, I think that's cool. That's great. Do you, whatever." And then one day come home and say, "Do you know where I just was?" "No." "Oh, are you sure?" "Yeah." "Why? Should I know where you just were?" no, it's okay. And then start getting paranoid thinking that I was knowing, to the point where I would just say, look, if you are so worried that I'm going to know psychically know what you're doing, ciao. So that becomes, that whole thing. And here's the thing, little misfit. She says, I think that theology needs to go hand in hand. That's why I study, because it meets in the middle. That's why I had the doctorate in metaphysical sciences with the an expressed interest in theology. Believe me, when you get into that, forget it. Um, because when you start digging, it's more than the surface of just what you read in the Word. It becomes a lifetime of study, which I love it and I enjoy it. But you meet it in the middle, and that's the whole thing. So I love it. Yeah. Let me see here. Um, Amy says, I love my gifts. Do you love it? I love my gifts. I wouldn't change things. It was hard. Yes. And sometimes it still is. Um, but it's your lifestyle. So I don't know any differently. I don't know any different. Hillary says, I went back to school at 46 and became a cell culture biologist. Bravo. Hillary, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Oh my gosh, I love it. Way to go. You are top shelf. Way to go. Way to go. Amy says, do you call in your grandmother from time to time, or does she pop in? No, and I won't. I don't call any of my family members because I want them to be at peace where they are. And besides, it is extremely hard to understand and know if you're calling something back. See, there's a part of that I'm real cautious about, because we are told not to mess with necromancy. And when you call people back, you have to be very, very careful. And if you don't believe me, read the story of the witch of Endor in the book of Samuel. And it tells about that. We are not supposed to call people back. I don't call. I have not seen, since the story I told about my mother the night she passed away, and I said, move on, go, don't come back. It's fine. I think sometimes we have issues and problems with calling people that have gone on into another dimension, and wanting, in some ways, for me, it would be selfish if I did that, and something I don't want to do. They've lived their life. They're not going to be here, and they can't help me in that regard. So just buzz off. I mean, that sounds weird. That sounds horrible. But my thing is, you've lived here, you lived your life, you went through this, you went through your journey. Now it's my turn to go through mine. I'll see you there someday. Now is not the time. I think that would probably flip me a little bit more than anything else. So, I mean, to each his own. I just prefer not to do that. I just prefer not to. So, Standing Stone says, no doll zone. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hillary says, I loved being an adult learner. My darlings, I don't think that we should ever stop learning. I'm probably 20 years older than you are, Hillary, and I study every day. There's something that I study every day that keeps your mind young, it keeps your body young, it keeps you interested and distracted from other crap. So there we are. Okay. Louise says, our loved ones can still be around us, though. I guess they can. Mine aren't, because I want them to be enjoying the level they are right now. They need to enjoy as a spirit. They are around me in memory. That's the one thing, and that's my own personal preference. They're around me in love and memory and all of that. But as far as anything more, they need to move on. That's what it's all about. Um, okay, so Amy, so John is still here and has not moved on yet because we call in it. Now, all right, here we're going to get into some technical stuff here. The spirit, get this now, the spirit is the intellect of the soul, just like the mind is the intellect of the body. Our energy never leaves. It cannot be destroyed. It just transforms and moves on. He's already moved on. But because of this tragedy, John's energy remains. So that's why sometimes it feels like there's a disconnect in what that energy gives to us, and a disconnect about all of this, because I believe that when this is all done with John, we can say, okay, bye, go. You do not, your soul does not have a purpose. Your spirit does not have, and I know I make people mad, but when you start studying, really deep down studying and not surface stuff, you realize that there are points in our life. We are appointed to come here, be born of water, and then move on. And to want someone to stay here is actually hurting them more than it helps us. We don't want to hurt them. We want them to go and experience that forever. They serve their purpose here for whatever reason it is. And it's very unfortunate that John's purpose was served the way that it was. But it is his energy that is looping here that we pick up on. It is not, we're not calling him back. He's already, he's out of here. He's gone. But it's his energy. So what we pick up on is the spirit is the intellect of the soul. The soul has a different purpose. The soul has moved on. The spirit energy can sometimes remain to a certain degree, but it eventually will all dissipate and move on. And I can tell you, the moment that this trial is over, regardless, let's just say it that way, regardless of how the trial ends, John will move on because his purpose here will be complete. And then Karen will really begin her purpose. And I want you to know what I've been hearing about Karen today. So I don't want to get off track with Manifestation Monday. Hello. But I keep hearing 100 million, 100 million, 100 million as far as Karen is concerned. And I'll bet you bottom dollar, when this is all over, there will be lawsuits for 100 million to the state of Massachusetts and for those cities. So I don't want to take away from Manifestation Monday. I guess the point of all this coming out is, even from my childhood, recognizing when I had an ability as a seer. I don't like the word psychic, but as a seer, my ability is that learning to stay quiet, learning to stay silent helped me manifest to where I am right now. Because I had to learn control. I had to learn self-control. Even in my 20s and 30s, I'm going to say even in my 40s, it was extremely hard to understand exactly what my purpose was. I mean, I knew, but what I was trying to do was please other people. But I kept silent. I had dated people before they never even knew what I did. I would stay that silent. That silent. When I met, funny story, when I met my son's father, I was at a Chinese restaurant that would have me come in every Wednesday night, and I would go in the back room and they would take reservations. People would come and eat, and I would go in the back room and we'd have this a little psychic fair, and I would read cards for everybody, and they would pay me XYZ and give me dinner, and it would be a fun time. His father came through at the bar area one time, and I walked up there to the bar, and I turned around and he said, hello. And I said, well, hello, how are you? We sat down and we were talking. Now, I never planned on having another child. Never. Because I was in my mid 30s at that point. And he looked at me and he said, what would you do if you had another child? And I said, well, I would name it. And I named my son's name. But I said, if I had a girl, I would like to call her Elizabeth Rose, because I think that is one of the most beautiful names I've ever heard. He looked at me and he said, you gotta be kidding me. And I said, no, I love that name. Elizabeth Rose. I think that's gorgeous. He got up, did not say goodbye, did not say anything, got up and he left. And I did not see him for, it was a couple of months anyway. We ran in together that night and he goes, you freaked me out. I had to check you out. I didn't realize why you were here. So long story short, Elizabeth Rose was his mother's name. And he thought, he was always Mr. Paranoid. He thought that I was somebody there to, that one of his buddies set up to freak him out or something like that. I just never got into that sort of thing. Anyway, my darlings, this is the episode, even though we got off track, and my apologies, Manifestation Monday. This is the lesson that comes out of this. No matter what you do in life, no matter where you go, there's always something that's no one else's business. Not that you've done it wrong, not that you're planning on doing anything wrong, but in order to stay positive, you have got to keep your business your business. That's the way it goes. It is a time now for you, my darlings, to start thinking, what is it that you really want in life? How are you, pardon me. The pollen here is very yellow. Okay. How are you planning to navigate life? And what is it that you want to do? Many of you watching want to open your own business. Maybe you want in a relationship. Something just moved on my desk. Amazing how that happens. And it's not anything that fell. I don't know if you heard it or not, but no cat is around. No cat has been harmed or during the middle of this episode. But it is time now for my darlings, to decide, what is it? Do you want to go through life wondering, what am I here for? Or do you want to go through life saying, wow, this is what I'm here for? Because it was that moment when I started floating and started to stop, let me say it that way, denying what I've been given as a gift, is when I was able to really skyrocket. Shing. I am still manifesting my home. I'm still manifesting moving. I'm waiting on the timing. You see, because timing, I've learned, is everything. And when you push it outside of what the universe wants you to do, you may end up with something that ain't that good. I don't want to do that. I'm not in a hurry. I'm good. Anxiously, I'm excited, but I'm not in a hurry. I have a roof over my head. I'm very happy. Everything is going well. Got a great place to live. Um, Everything is fine. But is there more for me? Yes. Some people say, well, I thought you were going to leave. I thought you were going to move last year. I was going to. But I always tag my manifestations with I want what is safe for my family and myself. I want what is best for me, regardless of what I really want. So that means I get more and even better than what I imagine. I was planning on moving to an area last fall. It turns out this particular area was hit very hard and flooded out by Hurricane Milton. And if I would have moved into the house that I was really manifesting, I would have been wiped out in 2 weeks, literally wiped out in 2 weeks. So, this is why patience is such a virtue. Because remember, I call it the God factor. God moves people, places, and things around you to manifest what you are supposed to have. It's not sometimes all about you or me. It sometimes is just remember, we may be playing a part in someone else's manifestation story, meaning somebody we don't even know, or it could be one of you, my darlings, that are here today manifesting a certain thing, but it's taking these information, these videos, it's taking the encouragement of other people to help you to realize, that may not be what I want, or that might not be the area that I want to be in. So sometimes our manifestation story is predicated by other people around us. And, because there could be a home that's available that's not for sale right now, but it's supposed to be my home. And those people may wake up tomorrow morning and say, you know what, I just have the inclination to sell. I know that all of you have experienced that, where you just wake up one day and all of a sudden it's just like, oh my heck, right? Oh my heck. Why am I thinking this way? But I'm going to do it. Well, that's because you're a part of someone else's manifestation story. And if you're in a home and you wake up tomorrow morning and you decide, hey, I think I want to move, then you may be moved around so that this person who is really supposed to have your house can move in there as soon as possible. You see how this works? And when you really start thinking of the big picture, it's a huge picture, you're going to be like, oh, the possibilities are totally and completely endless. Hands down. Patty has something here. Patty McDaniel says, Zelda, does an individual always know if they have a gift, and what is the best way to bring that out? Usually you do know. I think everyone is born with some type of gift. It depends on, you have to take a moment and meditate and think about, what is it? Do I have a gut instinct? Do I have an internal clock? Many women especially have internal clocks where they just know specific timing. And that's what I say. Oh, well, okay, that's going to happen here. That's going to happen there. Those are things that you have to think about. What has happened in your past, and maybe even your most recent past, where you get this idea and it's like this unrecognizable voice in your head. And when I've got another thing that I want to tell you. When you hear the voices that are genderless, you know you're getting a message. Because there's no gender in heaven. Got me? There's no marriage. There's no gender. We are all one soul. We are all one, because we don't have that. We throw this meat suit away. We certainly won't need our rebounders while we're there. I hope. No, that's true. But if you hear that genderless voice, that means neither male nor female. And you'll know it when you hear it. I heard it yesterday about having an allergy in my left eye, and I ignored it. So, but I had it. Hello. And I've thought all morning, shoot, fire. Why didn't I listen? Not a big deal. But when you hear that genderless voice, that might be. Now, if you hear voices, if you hear inclinations or something like that, I want you to know, test everything, because I'll tell you why. I get very upset when I see paranormal groups go into places and they open portals and they don't close them for sake of television or whatever the case, right? If they don't close a portal, things can be out here and floating around. And we already know that that level of humanity, I'm going to say it that way, has no boundaries. I'm in a completely different state than Canton, Massachusetts, but we're picking up EVPs here where I am. That tells you there's an encompass, universal wide. So test everything. Don't just, oh, well, my grandmother showed up and she told me to do this. Really? How do you know it was grandma? Well, because she said so. You don't think that these entities and these spirits lie, because they do, and they will. Oh, really? But it told me things that only my grandmother would know. Well, an entity will know it now, because if your grandmother is gone, that's like an open book on that level. Oh, so that's why you've got to be extremely careful, and especially calling in family members that are to stick with you for an indefinite period of time. Because, first of all, you want them to enjoy the next phase of life before you get there. Secondly, you want to be very careful, because I know personally of dealing with people in the parapsychology, psychology side of things, that people can be led completely down a wrong path, thinking that their former husband, who has now passed on, or their grandparents, or their parents, or their sibling, or a friend, or something, who has led them completely down the wrong road. And the idea of the not so good place could be considered the hot place to lead you into destruction is definitely a thing. I want you to think, there was a song when I went to church 100 years ago, and it always sticks with me. But I want you to think about the words. And the words are, until our ancient until our ancient foe, F-O-E, doth seek to work his woe. His wrath and power are great, and armed with cruel hate. That's a church song? Sure is. Because it's the truth. Think of the book of Peter, where the devil circles like a lion waiting to pounce on you. So you need to be very careful with thinking, oh yes, I'm so spiritual, I can bring all this stuff in, and I want you to know this, that if you want to know something, because I have met these spiritual types, now I'm not saying all of them, okay? So don't come at me. But I have met some of these spiritual types that say, "Oh yes, I'm a portal. I can download your grandmother for you or you." Now, sometimes I do get messages and I'll pass them on. But if you just think that you're an open portal, look out, because most of these people that I know that do this have grave health problems, grave financial problems, grave relationship problems, and so on and so on, because that is an energy we are not supposed to have around us. So that's why I don't mess with Ouija boards. Ouija boards, no, no, no. I've been in a fight with Milton Bradley. I think that's the name of the company that manufactures them, for a very long time, because they put that in the game section. And what is it? Children 10 and above. I remember an experience with a Ouija board that I thought I was calling in my grandmother Zelda. Holy mackerel. Whoa. That was not the right thing to do. And it was tossed. So, just that, how you know is your gift. It can be a small gift, it can be a huge gift, whatever your little heart desires. And you know what? You just may have the gift of pleasantry. You know what that is? The gift of pleasantry, my darlings, is this. It is the fact when you see that grocery store checkout clerk who looks like she is having a heck of a day. And you go up to her and say, "Oh my gosh, what perfume are you wearing? That just smells delicious." And what do you see? A big smile. "Oh, you know what? I don't know. It's just something my husband got me." Really? Well, you've got a great husband if he buys you perfume like that and he makes you smell like that. Now, that is a gift. To be able to take somebody like that, that is also a part of the laws of reciprocity. It is also a gift that keeps on giving, because now what you've done is you've prepared her to pay it forward. You know what? There's this lady that came by and told me that my perfume just smelled delicious. I'm going to wear that tomorrow. She thinks that, other people are going to think that. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? The one thing, too, I want to share with you, not come at me if you want, but not every psychic on here is a psychic. Not every card reader on here is a card reader. In fact, I'm going to tell you some of the best card readers that I have met in my life do not claim that they are psychic. You do not have to be a card reader. I'm sorry, a psychic to be a card reader. Let me say that again because I hosed that. You do not have to be psychic or have an ability to read cards, because it is a science. And by having the cards, get this, here's a little thing. Here's this. By having the cards, it is a catalyst. The cards work as liaison between me and you or whomever, is a catalyst. Now, I've seen some people on here that it's funny because people come into my channel and into this one and they leave the nastiest remarks about, "Oh, how you're no card reader. I've been reading for 20 years. Well, honey, I just had my 50th anniversary. So here's the deal. When you use a tool, the cards are a tool. I do it because people like to see it. I don't need the cards, but I like to see, and I don't like to be on camera like this all the time. because I'm not a showboater. I'm not saying anybody else is. I'm not. I don't like to be on camera all the time. You can ask Marie, our mod, it took her forever to talk me into doing a live because that's just not been my bag. So, the cards are a catalyst. The cards, here's what happens. Okay? When I lay the cards down on the table, I'm thinking on the cards, but what happens? You or a client is thinking about the cards too. And guess what? The thought process meets in the middle. And we're both focusing on the cards. And that's, to me, an amazing thing because that becomes a common denominator. And you've got to think about, do I want to tell this person my opinion or do I want to tell them what the cards really say? Because that can be two different things. So there we go. Hi, Standing Stones is listening in the car. Bless you, bless you. There you go. There you go. Happy to have you here. Happy to have you here. Patty McDonald says, I'd love to do that all the time. I think it's important. If you can make someone else feel better and have a better day, that's wonderful. You know what? That is a manifestation gift. That is a manifestation gift when you can do that. Not a lot of people do that, and I see that. And I'm going to tell you another thing that it just gets to me. Let's do the opposite. When you have this woman at the checkout counter and they say, well, thank you for shopping here. We appreciate it. And you see somebody grab their bag and go on out like they are something. I just want to say, what was that? What was that? Are you having such a horrible day that you just can't even say thank you? If that's the truth, use the self checkout next time. Because you know what? I'm not so big that I won't call people out if they really make a bad scene about it. When you can overcome whatever is going on in your own life, so you don't bring anything down for someone else, guess what? Things are going to get so much better. Now, I have a question for all of you because I think you have seen my video where I am showing you what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, Diane said something. Thank you, my darling. Here we are. Diane, look at this smiling face of Diane. You've got to look at her. She's smiling and she's pure person. I watched you for ages before I got my reading. Others I've seen online just don't feel right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm not cutting anybody down. I don't want to say that because there's many good readers out there and I recognize them. And if I can shout them out, I do. But thank you. That's very kind for you to say. So I know that some of you have seen the video that I did where I have a playing card deck that has the writing of the meanings on them. You're welcome, my darling. I want to ask you, would you be interested if I wrote meanings on decks and put them in the shop for you so you didn't have to really download? I mean, some of us, I like downloading that and looking at the cards and, all that other. Let me know how you feel about that sort of thing. Let me know. And if it's feasible, I'll be glad to do it. I'll write the meanings on the cards, my handwriting, my energy on the cards, send them to you. You can read that night. Standing Stones, enjoyed your story. My father passed 3 days after I turned 13. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I didn't think he was around, but saved me when I heard something in my mind when I was in my work truck and said, move now. Oh, really? Well, my darling. And then Standing Stone says, oh, okay. So something in your mind said, move now. And a huge tree fell where I was. Oh, now that's something. That's something. And I do want you to know this. Sometimes if our family can't come through quickly, there's a little bit of influence up above that someone else can, get you to like make that fast move. Very good. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Just think if you would have questioned that, what would have happened? Wow. Thanks so much for sharing that. That's wild. Okay, so Patty McDaniel says yes, 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 please. Okay, well, we're gonna see what we can do. We're gonna see what we can do. And Miss, I know your first name, but I don't know if you want me to say that. So I'm just gonna say K H K Ryan 63. I'll say it that way. That would be nice. Okay. I'll work on that and see. Now, I want you to stay tuned because I'm working on the new key bracelets. These things are gorgeous. They're more higher end. I will post pictures when they are available. Now, don't forget, my darlings, when we reach 100 memberships with this particular channel, we will start scheduling member only lives. And those member only lives, my darlings, will turn into, okay, my dear, I can call you Karen from now on. I know your first name. And I don't have to be psychic to know that. But I didn't know some people don't like their names. So thank you, Karen. So these types of live events can happen when we have membership lives. And we'll talk more psychic. And I will teach card reading. We will read cards over I'll read your cards. We'll talk about this. We'll tell you, blah, blah, nah, 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 right? It's exciting. So just if you haven't got a membership now, please consider, I see most of you in the chat are, and please consider joining us so we can schedule the memberships. Membership live. That's what we're going to be doing. So anyway, my darlings, it is that time. For somebody who preached about being silent today, 2 hours and 12 minutes later, that didn't happen very much, did it? So anyway, my darlings, here we go. It is lunchtime for some, getting ready to be dinner time for many. And I want to thank you, as always, for being here. Much love to you. And thank you so much for your time today. Don't forget to pass this off to your friends. Don't forget to visit all the links in the description. And you know what? I'm going to see you very, very soon. Louise, you are a member, honey. I think somebody gave you a membership. You are a member. You are a member. So there you go. So thanks again, my darlings. Thanks to the mods today. Well, thank you, Amy, because I love you guys back. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here. So thank you, my darlings. And thanks for allowing me to share my stories with you today, right? That's the way it goes. I'm going to see you very soon. I haven't heard anything about, I've been hearing that the trial may not go tomorrow and that it may be postponed until Wednesday. I think they're kind of still jury picking, that sort of thing. So there you go. As soon as it is, I will announce it and we will get busy. We'll get busy. So at that point, I'm just going to say, my darling, Get the snacks ready. Just get ready because these lives are going to be good. Patty said, "This was the best. Thank you, Zelda. I always get exactly when I see as far as answers. Thank you. Love you, love you, love you, chat. Everyone else, have a great day. I want you all to have a wonderful rest of the day. And as soon as I get my manifestation cup, I'm going to take some pictures. I'm going to show you. I'm going to do a little unboxing. I was hoping to do it today, but now it looks like it might rain, and that's okay with me. Thanks, everyone. Much love to you. You be well. Manifest your heart's desire because I know each and every one of you have more than that ability to do so. And I will see you on Manifestation Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring your friends, bring your family. Let's have some fun. And I love you all. Thanks to the mods. Thanks to you. You have a beautiful day, everyone, and peace.